So you probably didn't miss it by now. Yesterday, there was a big balance patch. Some other changes to the game too, but primarily balance. Huge amounts of changes across all the professions, mostly to do with trait efficacy. We have a few trait reworks in there, and skill efficacy. But in quite a few places, since it was such big balance, there are a lot of new skills in the game. Old skills having been completely reworked or scrapped and now changed into new things. For example, over on Ranger, there's a new elite in the game now if you're a Druid. And there's lots of other things dotted all over the place. Before now, we had the preview of the balance change, but didn't actually get to see what the animations were like, the skill tooltips, how things would really flow. And finally, we can do that. So in this video, I want to run through all these new animations. Now, I've not seen any of them. I've saved it till now, and we'll run through it together and see what this stuff looks like. So it should be pretty fun. Now, I'm starting off on Necromancer here, because on Necro, we can actually demonstrate another new thing that's come into the game that isn't even profession-specific. It's a general change. It's a new aura that they've added. So, obviously, we've had Fire Aura since launch, which, you know, splash burning when you get struck. We've had Magnetic Aura, gives you Reflex. We've had Shocking Aura, splashes stun out when you get attacked. After a few years, the devs added a new one called the Light Aura. Now, that was something Guardians could give out really easily. Had Retaliation, had Reduced Condition Duration on it. And then that's been it for a long time, just the 5 auras. Well, this patch, the Chaos Armor effect, which is basically like an aura, has become a proper one, and they've added a new one altogether. You've got the Light Aura and the Dark Aura. Don't know what it looks like, so we're going to trigger it. Now, Dark Aura is going to be quite a rare aura, let me tell you straight away. You're not going to see it much. There's only 3 classes that can actually trigger it. It comes off of dark fields, okay? So, the 2 classes with lots of dark fields are Revenant and Necromancer, which is why we're on a Necro right now. I believe there is a single dark field on Mesmer too. If you're a Chronomancer, you're elite, the Gravity Well. That's actually a dark field because, you know, it's a Gravity Well, black hole, blah, blah, blah. So Mesmer gets like that one place on Gravity Well, but mostly it's going to be a Revenant Necro thing, which I really like because they're kind of our evil sort of dark professions. But it's still going to be rare even beyond that because the way you trigger this is with a leap in the dark field. And you might say, well, okay, there's loads of leaps in the game. But Rev and Necro, the 2 classes with the most dark fields, actually don't get many leaps. There's hardly any on those classes. So to be able to drop a dark field and leap in it yourself is going to be a rare occurrence. I actually really like the Dark Aura for this reason then, because what it kind of means is it's very similar to that original cross-profession combo idea that devs had for the field system, in that one person kind of drops the field, other people will be leaping in it, but not necessarily you. But we can do it, and the way we're going to do it on Necro, actually, is we are going to turn off Scourge here. And God, I actually am only just realizing now that I might not have Reaper available on this character. I don't! It's not trained, and we have 0 points. Oh my god, we're gonna have to swap. Hold on, guys, 1 second. So now we're on a Reaper, and what we're gonna do is drop a Dark Field. All of our wells are Dark Fields, for what it's worth, except the healing one. So, Well of Suffering, this will be a Dark Field for us. I do just want to quickly demonstrate to you guys what it's like to blast in this. So, if I create some bone minions here, when I hit the skill again, they'll blow up and blast. So, if I drop my well and I blast these, it's area blindness. Now, if that was the Dark Aura, you'd see a lot of it, but it's not. That's area blindness still. The only way to get the Dark Aura is to leap in it. So I'm going to create another well here. This time we'll use our Well of Corruption. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into Reaper Shroud, like so, which will give us something that looks like a Dark Aura already. And I'm going to use my Death's Charge, which is a leap, and then leave Reaper Shroud. And instead of looking like this, we'll have the aura, okay? So I just wanted to talk through that so that you guys who don't know everything that's happening here understand what you're looking for. We're not looking at the Reaper Shroud animation. We're looking at the aura that comes out the back, which so far I've never seen. So here we go. Dark Field down. Reaper Shroud, skill 2, drop out of Reaper Shrouds, and it didn't work. Okay, let's try that again. We can also do it, in theory, out of our Greatsword 4, by the way. So we leap. Oh, I did it too early. So here we go. Ah, here's the Dark Aura. Nice. Okay. Oh my god, look at all the flavor text there as well. What did that say? Surrounded by a Dark Aura, and then it says everything you get. Nice little animation there. It's obviously like that egg style effect. People still complain about the visual rework on those a while ago, but in the pursuit of reducing visual noise in Guild Wars 2, I've always liked that aura rework. So yeah, you get kind of a dark ring around yourself. You get the nice new animation there. Reminds me of one of the Lich Form skill animations, actually. And there you have it. So that's Dark Aura, one of the first new things of the game. One of the more contrived things to actually proc and talk about. The rest of this video will be a little bit more simple than that. But yeah, that in theory can be anywhere. You could be a warrior that uses Savage Leap through someone else's dark field, and you two will get that dark aura even if you're not dropping any of your own dark fields. In terms of solo acquiring it, I think Rev probably will have a bit more access, but I did want to show it on Necro, and so there you have it. That's not all for Necro, though. There is another skill that got changed, which I do want to run through here when we look at Focus. So let's swap to our other weapon set. I've got my axe on my main hand, Focus on the off. Now, Focus has Spinal Shivers, which was this lovely, like, Mark-style animation. Reminds me of Guild Wars 1 animations. It will slap onto someone and spike them with a ton of damage if they have lots of boons on them, applying chill at the same time. But what's changed is Soul Grasp. So this, before the patch, sent out just like a slow scythe that would bounce around and stuff. Now it's quite different. Release a disembodied hand to draw life force from your foe. So we're going to find something to hit now. Let's do it out here, I guess, to this mower. And it's 1200 range, so I'll try and demo here the highest range for you guys. And what do we get? Oh, okay. So it's actually quite a big hand that manifests forward. As the patch notes did show, it's an ammo-based skill too. So there's a 3-second cooldown between each ammunition proc. Let's try something else here. I'm going to hold the camera to the side. Yeah, okay, so it's basically like a giant staff auto attack as far as I can see there. A much, much bigger animation. And yeah, I don't know how much I was actually expecting this to be different to that. I was also thinking it would be a bit like the Lich Form auto attacks. And maybe it is quite similar to those two, but it's definitely way bigger. And so there you have it. That's Soul Grasp. Immediately just from seeing that animation, I'm not sure if it is as major as when they overhauled the Guardian Focus 4, which I talked about in that other video. But it still looks pretty nice. And there you have it. So those are your two Necro animations. Let's move over to one of the most exciting things now, though, and that's Berserker. Obviously, there was a ton of trait stuff, but not really any animations on traits. I mean, you'll see this new thing, Feel No Pain, being procced as a tooltip for people, and you'll see some slight changes, but no real animations until it comes to the actual burst skills themselves. So we're going to have to build some adrenaline on this one, so I've come to these target golems. Let's just do this a little bit with our axe here. And you'll notice we have no F2 anymore, just as the notes described. We just got Berserk, Burst, Gain Adrenaline, and an attack speed boost, and access to Primal Burst skills. And once we've got it up, you'll see it does have a cast time, as Boots and I talked about. I think it can be interrupted, as you'll see there. Now, that animation is actually very similar to what we already saw it look like. So I think it's just the fact that it takes a little bit more time to trigger. It should also remind you guys of one of the Ara bosses, you know, the abomination you fight in one of the paths of Ara. But where things get more juicy is when we actually look at the new Primal Burst themselves. So I'll go back into Berserk in a second. And first we're going to show off the axe one. Now, this is called Decapitate. And what Decapitate was described as is now being ranged. It used to be like Eviscerate, where it was actually like a leap style skill. It's no longer a leap that roots you in place. We obviously know that it will automatically recharge when it lands. So let's see, we go into Berserk. You have Decapitate, and you'll see we're in range. You slash it out, and it actually does hit people from pretty far away. I'll do that again. And like so. And it does hit very, very hard. Those are heavy golems. It's pretty nice. It's a very quick little thing. So in terms of usability, Decapitate, I think, has actually changed from being one of the harder skills to land because it was just so telegraphed and it was so slow to now being extremely easy to land because there's a very minor telegraph on that. Obviously, in the competitive formats from the other side of the coin, that you might not like that change. But there you have it. Also, that secondary strike that used to be on there that looked like a, a power attack or whatever from Guild Wars 1, that's not there anymore at all. But as long as you've got the adrenaline to sustain this, you can just kind of splash these out over and over and over and over again. So, pretty nice. That's Decapitate. Next, we've also got the new Greatsword Burst Arc Divider. So, let's show this one off. Now, in the past, this was really high usability, in my opinion. It was, you'd splash it out, it would do suddenly a big, point-blank AoE around you. Now, it cascades in 3 helicopter strikes. So, I'm going to do it in the middle here. We're going to press the 1, and it goes 1, 2, 3, and you'll notice we get multiple packets out. None of them crit there, so that didn't look too impressive. But yeah, it's basically like 3 of the old skill stacked on top of one another. And they get increasingly further away. Often with skills like this, ArenaNet makes it so that the ones later in the chain do less damage. But I think this is the same amount each time. So if you're standing right next to the Berserker as he uses his new Arc Divider, well, you're going to be in for a little bit of pain on that one. So yeah, that's the 2 new bursts here. there is another one that I don't currently have animated, though, equipped, and that's going to be the hammer. So let me just throw that one on. Now, this one was very minor, but I'll show it off anyway. So we're going to move in, and Rupturing Smash is still ground targeted. You still move quite a distance, but it flows a little bit better now. It doesn't, like, lock you in place. And, yeah, it feels all right, actually. Again, just a bit of a usability improvement. There's still a little bit of a delay there, honestly, as I had the aftercast of a previous hammer attack on. But, yeah, feels pretty good. I love the ground target on that, and I so rarely ever see it, because playing a Berserker or a hammer Berserker is just such an unknown thing for me. I just don't do it. Let's move over to Engineer next, where there's going to be another change that's very similar to this. That's going to be on Rifle with Jump Shot. So the description here was that when you use it from a high position to a low position, it won't act so weirdly anymore. In the past, what we would do is rocket out, sort of stall weirdly in midair, and then drop very suddenly. And now, if I jump shot just down pretty much, you'll see we sort of continue flowing. The weird, like, move forward, break, drop doesn't happen so much. We de-accelerate a lot, and then we speed up again as we go back down. So this does feel very smooth. You can only really get the feeling out of it from very, very significant drops like that one. But there it is. And the other one, while I'm at it, Blunderbuss. This is the new tooltip. It just says, fire several shards of shrapnel that inflict more damage the closer you are. And it just says maximum and minimum, and they don't give you every single little threshold. But so if I stand all the way over here... Wait, what range are we at? 900. Okay, so this is maximum range. If I blunderbuss these guys, you'll see we get the 3 bleed, and they run out pretty quickly, and you get the cleave damage. If I move right over to the 2 heavy golems, and I do it again, you'll see the 3 bleed lasts really long now. And... this means you're doing more damage and everything's working out for you better, but it's not so complicated and confusing. You know, it's 3 bleeds each time, and it just sort of works out for people. So I do hope to see more of this on some of the other skills as we go forward. That was about it as far as I remember for this class. Obviously, there were a lot of other changes, but in terms of totally new animations, I don't think there were any. So let's move on. That reminds me, I do want to play with a Shredder Jar on that at some point. Let's move on to Ellie, where there are a lot of differences again, and that's going to be over on Dagger, as well as a little bit on the focus. So I'll show a focus straight away. That was Swirling Winds, which now has this ground-targeted telegraph. So it's a white ring here for me. It'll be a red ring for enemies. And it really does show you that the protective area of Swirling Winds is a little bit more, it feels like, than the animation actually suggests. I guess it's because there's kind of that cone-ish shape to the animation. You sort of feel like you're less safe at the edges than you actually are. I really do like this. I already talked about why in the other video, in terms of players can actually cull this animation completely out, and now that white ring will allow them to know, hey, I'm actually still completely safe. So yeah, that was a minor thing, but the much more exciting stuff is over here on our dagger. So first of all, skill 2 on air. This thing is now called Convergence. Same icon, and I guess there was no reason to actually change the icon here, so that's fine. But this used to be Lightning Touch, a reference to a Guild Wars 1 skill, if I remember rightly, and it would just burst out a little bit of air in front of you, do a little bit of damage, and apply some weakness. Well, the new skill still does weakness, it's just got way more quality of life on it here. So what we're going to do is shock and inflict weakness, but it's gonna, the description was that this would strike us with lightning. So I'm gonna click this Firefly. He's in range, okay? I'm gonna de-target it and just cast it with no target and see what happens. All right, wow, okay. So hold on, the animation was a little bit rubbish there because I have the minstrel on, so you saw a little bit of a musical note playing. So there's a delay, nice, and you can actually see that with the white ring, I guess, and hold off for a second. So it doesn't need a target, it's just all around you. Let's shut off again. So we cast, there's a delay, then the lightning strike comes down from above us. Okay, so, but this is nice, guys, because it means actually you should stack up a lot more fury. Well, the old one was AoE as well, but it was just in a cone in front of you, so you wouldn't necessarily get that rolling as much. The weakness, you wouldn't necessarily get the AoE aspect out of it. So, yeah, that's nice. Obviously, it's skill 2 on the bars, so don't expect anything absolutely mind-blowing. We're not expecting a massive electric explosion here. This is a fairly regular skill on an 8-second cooldown. That's one side of things. The other is Earth, which is what I'm more interested about. First of all, Ring of Earth. This had a slight change, they said, but nothing major. So I'm expecting it to look, whoa, kind of the same, but it doesn't. So this, basically the change with this was that it has 2 pulses now. And you'll see the tooltip says, use the Earth to launch yourself into the air and strike foes in a small radius. Deliver a larger ring of earthen spikes upon impact. Wow, let's see that again. What a beautiful skill. There's so much stuff going on with that. That feels very Tempesty, right? It's a bit like riding. In fact, it is the Earth Overload, isn't it? They've taken the Earth Overload animation and baked a mini version of it into this double ring. That is gorgeous. That is truly gorgeous. I wonder whether there's any PvE mobs using Ring of Earth and now have that new version. Wow. Okay. And then also we've got Earthen Rush. Now there's a whole story about the other version of the skill we had. Used to be just a ridiculous mobility tool. I'm expecting this to be less ridiculous now. Quickly dash along the ground instead of the air. Quickly dash along the ground, summoning spikes along the way and delivering an area strike. So let's see what this one looks like. Oh, yeah, okay, so it takes us less distance now. It's like a headbutt, man, okay. Oh, yeah, you get like 3 of them, and they come up behind. This is nice. I like how rapid that is, how fast that is. The other skill moved you quite a long way, but it was actually fairly slow. In terms of a chase skill, this is actually very, very usable now, particularly, obviously, considering it has that emote at the end, and the emote at the end is 5 targets, too. So this will burst onto 5 people. There's kind of a subtle big dust explosion there. Now, I kind of like the LE changes. So there you go. That's most of it, really, you know, beyond trait selection differences and potency changes. So there you have it. Let's move over to Druid next and check out the new elite skill, Glyph of the Stars. All right, so this one, I must admit, I'm a little bit sad about because I did just do my Druid presentation video, and the idea was do it in 2019. The class won't change much anymore, and, you know, it will work as a guide forevermore, and now the elite is totally different. But here we go. So we lost the Glyph of Empowerment, and instead the old Glyph, Glyph of the Tides, is now just a regular skill. And the new one is this here. So Glyph of the Stars, you will see that's a new tooltip. It's got a little star in the middle of it. Heal allies, cleanse conditions, prevent conditions from being inflicted. But when we're in CA, it also helps resurrections. So the best way I guess I can show this off is we'll use the regular version, then we'll build the CA. So the regular version is going to heal allies and cleanse their conditions. So we'll do it to our pet, basically. Oh, yeah, it's ground target. Oh, my God, look at this. Oh, you know what this feels like? Oh, it's a really long channel that we can move as well. Oh, so it's a little bit like the new winds on Spellbreaker. I'll replay that for you guys. Jeez. You know what that feels like? That feels like an old, like, Ventari Rev animation that never ended up in the game or something. Look at that thing. That is gorgeous. Wow. So I guess it's actually a field. We create an area. It's a water field too that, you know, other people could blast in and stuff, and it keeps people safe. Oh, this is a very cool idea for elites. I liked it with winds, and I kind of like that they're doing it here as well. So we can choose to just make a condition damage immunity area for a while that cannot be stripped or corrupted and whatnot. Even heals people over time. Somehow I never picked up at all that it would be ground targeted. Okay, so I guess we don't need an enemy or anything. Let's try out the CA version next. I wonder if they'll all appear blue or something. So I'll go into CA, trigger the elite. We channel it. Oh, okay, so this extra little bit of the stars and the celestial bodies comes down from the sky, showing that off there as well. I wish it lasted longer, to be honest. I wish it lasted longer. You do not lose health from being down. So hold on, because this is a channel, does that mean we can't actually revive during that time? It is very team-oriented then, or we have our pet with Search and Rescue doing the revive at the same time. That's gorgeous. Wow. Okay, very cool. So there, you know, unlike with some of these other skills we've seen, they can go a little bit more major because it's a freaking elite. So there you go. That's your new elite skill that they've added with this patch for the druids. A quick look at Thief here, and I really do mean quick, for actually one of the more controversial changes of this patch. Obviously, they started introducing trade-offs to elite specializations, and so Daredevil got its trade-off. It got a bit more damage this patch, if I remember rightly, but it also got a trade-off in terms of steel changing. So, when we are a core thief, steel looks like this. When we are a Deadeye, it changes to Mark, Deadeye's Mark, and obviously the animation and everything changes and the icon changes. Well, now, Daredevil 2 has its own unique steel. This time, it's called Swipe, and you can see it's listed here by the first miner. It says gain access to physicals, maximum endurance is increased, and still is replaced with Swipe. So here is Swipe. It's got a nice little tooltip. This was the main thing I wanted to look at. But the main difference about this is it's unblockable, but half range. Now, that's kind of a frustrating thing, really, since one of the big reasons to pick up Daredevil a lot of the time is actually to get access to, like, Dash, and you get that extra mobility, and that's worthwhile something for you. But now, Dash is kind of just having the job of countering the loss of the mobility on Swipe. So you've gone from 1200 range still to just a 600 range still. Why don't I have unique dodges right now? What's going on here? Oh, I guess because I never picked up an actual Grandmaster right now. So yeah, you've gained unblockable, but lost half the distance. It's controversial because in truth, a lot of the unblockable areas you had other tools around. Like if you were running Dagger Pistol, which often as a Daredevil you kind of had unblockable Shadow Shot anyway to fill that space. You could steal with Bountiful Theft Aegis, so it was really only other blocks that were relevant to you anyway. So yeah, the unblockable bit maybe isn't that great, but here, I'll show off what it looks like. I guess it will look like regular steel, it's just that our range is more limited. So from here, we're out of range. It says out of range, cannot steal from here, but as soon as we cross this threshold, we're in range. Yeah, it just looks like steel, and it just functions like steel, except it's a half range and has a new icon. That's all really for Thief. I don't think there was anything else. One last minor thing before we get to the really juicy Rev stuff, which has got quite a few things. Over on Guardian, they did have some spirit weapon changes. And by the way, I love that we're doing this here. This is where the original skill previews the devs ever did was shot. There were the spirit weapon changes, but as I showed off on that previous video, they're ground targeted now, and as you can see, that's kind of fun, right? And we can cast them. But their actual animations aren't any different. Not even the shield, which had that big 1200 nuke. That's not any different, though the ground target tells on that's kind of nice. But the main thing I want to show you is Hammer, which, as we know from the notes, actually sped up its auto attack chain. So this stuff's all really squishy. So get a good look here. That's what the chain looks like. It's still pretty slow, honestly, the skill 3 there. Look, we can actually channel it multiple times in a row once the enemy's dead. But there you go. And that's what they're feeling like. So moving on, finally, let's look at Rev. Revenant has a whole new skill, not just a rework to a skill, a totally new skill when you're playing core Rev. So here you'll see I'm a Salvation, Invocation, Corruption guy. I am not Herald, and I'm not Renegade. What that means is I got a new skill too, and as you can see, it's right here where the Herald ability appears. I think this is a shame. I think they could have done this better. It's called Ancient Echo, all right? So this is the new skill. It looks like it has ammo on it. It has 2 ammo. We didn't get that on the notes. Refresh your bond with your channeled legend, regaining energy, and legend-specific effects. So Shiro, it's your unblockable, which is kind of a bit of an overlap. I never mentioned that in the other video, but you obviously already get unblockable on the port in. But hey, maybe you can somehow chain this together. Alacrity on Ventari. But remember, that's just for you. That is interesting in that that's Alacrity you get access to without needing to take Salvation at all. So you could be Ventari, no Salvation, still have Alacrity, but it's only on you, so hey, does it really matter much? You got Right of the Great Dwarf, selfishly, for the damage reduction. And I wonder, here's something I wanted to see with this new skill. When we go into Retribution and we trait for that skill, Right of the Great Dwarf affects condition damage as well. Does that update this to affect condition damage as well? The tooltip doesn't change, so maybe the devs forgot that they had a Grandmaster, but I did want to see if that would augment that. It doesn't seem like it does. That's a shame. The other one, obviously, is when you're Corruption, you can take Maniacal Persistence, Lash Out whenever you gain Resist, and now this new skill's giving you Resistance in Malix. And I'm assuming that interaction will work at least. So yeah, Ancient Echo, and I guess what I was thinking was that it would increase, just having it here would increase your energy pool by 50. Sorry, by 25, as it says. That's not actually what it looks like it's doing. Instead, it's when you cast a skill, you get your energy back. So let me get into combat. Well, you had a ton of char here a second ago. What happened? Let me get into combat with some of these Flame Legion. I'll drain my energy, and then what I'll do... So, we're in combat. We're going to drain our energy. This is always a good way to do it. And now we're going to use the skill. And look at that. We pumped 25 up. Oh, okay. It's not ammo-based. I'm an idiot. That's just my keybind. The 2 written under that is that's the keybind I use. It is not ammo-based. All right. So, yeah, we get our energy back. So, it's kind of a way of rebuilding energy without relying on energy swapping. I'm not sure, honestly, how I feel about this. Because, like, the whole flow of the class is about getting energy back by swapping. And now what you're teaching new revs is that it's not about that at all, really, that there's lots of dynamic ways to do it. And I'm not 100% on it. Like the flow and the idea of what people learn about rev as they move through. But this could open up some very nice things. It means you can sustain in your legend for that little bit longer, especially if you're invocation slotted and you pick up charged mists, which gives you another 25 as long as you swapped while you were low enough. So yeah, that's that. Then also, we've got some other skills here as well. By the way, the coloring of the tooltip is weird to me. It doesn't feel very revy. Or maybe it does. Rev is like lots of really crazy colors, depending on what you've picked. And this is sort of a good baseline. Anyway, then we got Staff. Now, Staff had some changes in line with this supports thing. So first of all, the skill 2 is no longer like an interrupt and a smash. Instead, it's called Mender's Rebuke. Smash the ground in front of you to damage foes. After a delay, allies in the area are healed, and it heals for more if an enemy's struck. So let's just shirt off naked, I guess. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we smash down, and it actually heals. It feels almost right on us. The radius is not very high, it seems. There you go. So players can walk into this. That means I can run over to my friends now. Are there actually some injured Ash Legion here because they were fighting? They're not injured. But I guess one of the things in Revenant will actually be to run over to your friends and smash on them, which does a bit of damage, and it also, you know, helps them out. Also, the skill 3 changed a little bit in that the blinds are more directed in front of you. So there is a whole, like, black, smoky splash you guys just saw there that comes out directly in front of us. The distance that that blind goes is actually way less than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd extend out in a cone. So here, look, we'll do it directly on him. And you get this nice splash of blind out in front of us instead of the little orbs that fly around. That's going to be harder to use now, basically. And then finally, didn't the skill 5 change? Or am I mistaking that? Didn't this change a little bit? Oh, no, it's just that there was a new trait interaction on that. So there you go. That's the Rev stuff. Probably the biggest one, I think, actually. Getting a whole new skill, Ancient Echo, there. And those are the new animations. That's all the new skills, all the little things. I'm quite happy I managed to do a little spotlight on this because every balance patch, a ton of these little things come in. And it's kind of weird when I don't have any way of actually showing it on screen for people when they're going with the preview version. So I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching. Feel free to continue the balance discussion down below. Don't forget, I've got a new dungeon series going out. I thoroughly recommend you guys check out if you've still got some time on your hands. And until next time, I'll see you soon.